G'day folks, my name is Rob. Welcome back to another F1 Fantasy video. Today I wanted to make a few mid-season announcements for this page, this channel, ahead of Zandvoort. There's probably a few new things you can see here on the screen on my YouTube and on my Twitter page, which we're going to touch on momentarily. But if you're new around here, you're enjoying the content, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel. It goes a very long way for me and kind of what I want to focus on moving forward. So as you can tell, there's a few changes that have been made to the video content, my banners and logos and such across the board. Obviously, I think it's a much crisper finish. I've been thinking about it for a few months, in fact, and I did consider doing something like this before the season started, but I was to some degree rushed with creating a YouTube channel and with things happening at the start of the year that were probably outside of my control a little bit. Didn't really prioritize building out the coloring, the formatting, the structure of my videos and such. But now with 4 weeks off, work and life has probably cooled down a little bit, being able to put a bit more time into developing, what you're seeing here on the screen. So really excited for what the sharpness, the format of these videos and the content moving forward will look like. That's the obvious kind of housekeeping matter I wanted to address with you guys, so hopefully you like it. As far as what my YouTube content is going to look like moving forward, still very much in flux, I think. I haven't really given myself a concrete deadline or structure as to how much I want to focus on it, but as you've seen with every race week, I've been prioritizing at least one video, my team selection video, because obviously you guys have so much interest in understanding dilemmas and questions and such that you want answered with how your team structure looks heading into every race week. I do also want to prioritize getting out a final thoughts video every week too. I've had some weeks where I've been able to do that, other weeks where I haven't because of personal commitments, but I'm really hoping to make that more of a priority for the second half of this season and beyond, because I think having updates, discussions, debates, questions and such around lineup decisions and whatnot the day or 2 days before the deadline is pretty important, and I think you guys are finding you're getting a lot out of that too. So really hoping to focus on that a little bit more as well for the remaining 10 or so races this season, and I think that's likely going to affect some of the content around what I'm putting out on Twitter, which I think for me last year without YouTube was my primary and just about only focus, but with YouTube this year and FanAmp, which I'll get to in a moment, I've got I'm probably thinly spread a little bit, and so I'm trying to scale back what I think is more important to me and to my page and my channel moving forward. The weekly race preview threads was a staple of my content last year. It was extremely popular, and I really found it was what a lot of people got a lot out of heading into the deadline, and I've continued to do that this year. I've been really happy with how it's been received. I think the momentum is carried over from last year, but we're also starting to see in F1 Fantasy a lot more content creators in YouTube, written content on Twitter, whatever it might be, and so I think the value add for that was there last season probably doesn't carry as much weight this season. I'm not saying you guys don't get anything out of it, for those of you that read it, but I definitely think for me, because I've got my fingers in so many pies, it's hard to really prioritize or identify what I want to prioritize as easily as I could do last season. And for the race preview threads, the last couple or so, I've alluded to it a little bit. I'm probably not as invested in it as I was a year ago. One of the reasons was last year I was traveling a lot for work, so I'd have 2 or 3 hours on a flight coming back on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and I could just punch out 6, 10, 20 tweets in a thread in that space of time, and I was really able to just consolidate that in that downtime. I haven't really been flying quite as much this year, and so I haven't been able to make time for that like I probably would have liked. But I guess I haven't also had the passion and desire to do that same research and analyses as I was doing last year, and I think part of that has to be a product of the YouTube content I've been focusing on a lot this year. So I do think from Zandvoort onwards, I'll be doing away with the weekly race preview threads, but that doesn't mean that that's the end of the world for written content. There's a lot of excellent sources out there, which I'm sure if you haven't already come across on Twitter, you will absolutely find if you just look a little. So at this point in time, I've decided to kind of park that. It might come back in the future, I'm not ruling that out, but given I want YouTube to be my focus moving forward. That's kind of what it means. I think the other thing as well, I know I keep calling it Twitter even though it's X, but with kind of what's happening on the platform, there still seems to be a little bit of, I guess, the algorithms. I don't really know the details behind it, but the algorithms, how things are presented or captured, or what you can see on your timeline is all very much in flux. I'm not really quite sure what this means for Twitter moving forward. I'm not going to stop tweeting. I'll be still tweeting every day or as often as possible. But I think YouTube, as I mentioned, was probably going to be my primary focus moving forward. And I'll be sharing, snapshots or videos or whatever it might be on Twitter. But I think because of the unpredictability of it, I'm probably going to lessen my activity on there just a little bit for the time being until there's a bit more known about what the platform is intended for moving forward. The third thing you've got on the screen here is obviously FanAmp. So for those of you that don't know about FanAmp, they are a community of sports fans. F1 is the primary focus. And as you can see here, just to the right-hand side of the text box, this video and all videos for the remainder of the season and beyond hopefully will be powered by FanAmp. FanAmp are a huge supporter of this channel, and I've been very privileged to be involved with that community and the people that run FanAmp. Every week I do co-host the Fantasy Formula show on YouTube. It's a live show with Adam at F1 Fantasy HQ. We look at all of our team selection dilemmas, news in F1, how that implicates F1 Fantasy, and it will supplement a lot of what my YouTube content on my own page is going to be like. But I've obviously, as I mentioned, been very lucky to be involved with these guys, and I guess the intention there is to work with other like-minded F1 fantasy creators like Adam to churn out content for you guys that can hopefully benefit your team selection dilemmas and such moving forward. In addition to that, there's definitely discussions around potential deadline streams. I know that's quite popular in other fantasy sports, so we're really hoping to roll that out with success before the end of the season. I think Monza is potentially on the cards for the first one, and I'll have more news on that hopefully as we get closer to that, so stay tuned. And if the popularity from what we've seen on other F1 fantasy channels is anything to go by for those streams, I hope it can be replicated over on FanAmp with Adam. In addition to that, FanAmp has talked about potential prizes, gifts, etc. for involved participants in the community. I will have, again, more news on that, but I'm really hoping to cultivate a community over on FanAmp as well, with the F1 Fantasy following that is currently on Twitter. And you guys have been so supportive of this channel, certainly since it started up in January of this year. So hoping to really continue the momentum we've got from that into other, I guess, parts of this F1 Fantasy community. And the app itself, FanAmp, has, I use as a platform for real-time fantasy discussions. We talk about, as I mentioned, team selection dilemmas, news, considerations, all that stuff that we are plagued with every single race week. It's much like a Discord channel. So again, to my point earlier, I'm not trying to spread myself too thin on too many platforms and all that, but because of the support I've received from FanAmp, I'm involved obviously through their app and through their community. So if you want to jump in to have live discussions with me, with Adam, and any of the other guys in the F1 Fantasy community, download their app. The link is in the description, and hope to see you guys there. So essentially that's just about it for me in terms of this update. Not too detailed, I hope, and I just wanted to give you a download of kind of where I'm at with the channel, my pages, etc. moving forward. I'll definitely be back with team selection videos, lineup decisions, final thoughts and all that before Zandvoort. But I appreciate you guys stopping by for a bit of a mid-season debrief. As always, if you're enjoying the content, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, guys. Appreciate you dropping by, and I'll see you all very soon.